So here's my plan. I'm going to show you how we have been factoring our trinomials when a is greater than 1. First of all, when I say a is greater than 1, what I really mean is that we have a number up the front that isn't just 1d squared. So, what most of you have seen, we've kind of put out this smiley face just to help us remember, all right, what is it that I need to do? So I put out my format so that I can remember what needs to be multiplied. Then I'm going to look at the front and I'm going to look at the back. So the front here, I'm going to put a little t out just to, this is my whole thought process. And I know that I have to multiply two things together to give me 3d squared. So 3, the only thing that makes 3 is 1 times 3. So I'm going to write 1d and 3d. Those are the two things that multiply together to get me that 3d squared. Then I come over to the right and it says negative 3. So I want to think about that negative 3, but first I'm just going to pull apart my factors. The only way that I can get 3 is 1 and 3. So now is when I want to think about, all right, this right here is a negative. If that's a negative, what that means is either the 1 or the 3 has to be negative and the other one has to be a positive. So I'm just going to take and I'm going to write down at the front, I'm going to take this and I'm just going to write 1d and 3d. It doesn't matter which order they go into, I'm just going to write them out. Now I have to go to the other side, this 1 and the 3, and I have to figure out which one goes here and which one goes here. So these two have to multiply together to get me something. And then these two have to multiply together to give me something. When I add these two things, they need to give me negative 8d. So I think, what would help me to do that? Well, if I put the 3 here, 3d times 3 would give me 9d's. And I'm not worrying about the signs yet. You might worry about the signs right away, and that's fine. And then if that's the case, I would need to put the 1 right here. Well, 1d times 1 is going to give me 1d. If I put those two together, can I get to a negative? Yeah, if I'm thinking football, if I had a loss of 9 yards and a gain of 1, that would be an overall loss of 8. So I know this 9 has to be negative. That means I'm going to follow through. This 3 has to be negative, and then if I go down here, this one has to be a positive 1. Now, how do I write that in my answer? Well, these two first ones are going to go together, so I'm going to get 1d minus 3, and then the two second ones have to go together, and so I get 3d plus 1. If I want to check my work, I can totally check my work. So what happens if I multiply? So 1d times 3d gives me 3d squared. Then 1d times 1 gives me plus 1d. Negative 3d times 3 gives me minus 9d. And then negative 3 times 1 minus 3. Does that get me back to my original 3d squared minus 8d minus 3? Yep, it does. So check, I've done it right. This right here in the purple and the green is the answer that I'm looking for. So take a second to look at that, and then I'll do one more that we can walk through together.